about 15 after. So somebody tell me something you're taking from our first 45 minutes. What's something you're taking? Yes, ma'am?
Not about the money.
It's not about the money. And we'll talk about that even more in the coming 2 hours. It's not about the money. All right, somebody else. Yes, ma'am?
I'm not the only one that thinks this way.
Yeah, very good. Validation. I love it. All right, somebody else. Something you took away from the first 45 minutes. Yes, ma'am?
Alignment of community.
Alignment. Alignment of community starts with alignment of organization. Alignment of organization starts with alignment within ourselves. Are we in alignment? Do we understand the goal, the role, and what winning looks like? And then it just branches from there. All right, anybody else? Something you're taking away from the first 45 minutes.
Pride.
What's that?
Pride.
Pride. And over the next month, towards the end of the month, I'll give you actually 3 videos on building community pride, organizational pride, and individual pride. And within organizations, how to use pride as a performance management strategy. How to use the cultivation of and the installation of, the cultivation of, and the deployment of pride as an organizational performance strategy and an individual performance strategy. So 127 employees of the town, do they take pride in their work, or do they take pride in working for the organization? Why do I ask the question? Why am I asking the question, what did you take away from the first 45 minutes? Why? Why? Well, it's not as much about seeing if you understood it, because frankly, I don't really care. You know, you say, why is that? Because I don't need any of your help to validate who I am. How many of you know I got a whole bunch of ego flying around? So I don't need to be validated. So I don't ask the question to validate me like, hey, Nate, I need to know if you're getting it. I need to know if you're intentional. When you walked in the door today, did you come to learn something? Do you have your axe pick and your shovel and your miner's hat on because you're looking for that thing to make you, your organization, your family, your neighborhood, or your community a better place? Are you hungry? See, hungry people find what they're looking for. I guarantee you, and again, a whole bunch of ego flying around, but I promise you, in that 45 minutes, there was at least 10 golden nuggets for community, or community-based organizations, or individuals that hope to lead in community. But were you searching? Or are you like many people in the 21st century that isn't just evaluating the song and dance? You know, the person up front, is their song and dance any good? Right? Or are you one of those people that is caught up in style? Well, I don't particularly like his style. Forget about all of that. Who cares? Just, are you gaining and are you looking? And that usually begins with intentionality. So at the end of every 45 minutes to 50 minutes, I'm going to ask you, what did you take? What did you take? What did you take? As we speak right now, there is a 4-year-old little boy counting on all of us in this room to get better. As we speak right now, there is a senior on a fixed income somewhere in a 20-kilometer radius counting on us to get better. And tragically, as we speak right now, somewhere in a 100-kilometer radius, someone's making crystal methamphetamine and they want to sell it to our kids. Am I right or wrong? Yes. And tragically, as we speak right now, somewhere in a 200-kilometer radius is a pedophile trying to figure out an innovative and creative way to snatch my daughter off a playground. Am I right or wrong? That's the reality of what we are against today. And not to be melodramatic in any way, but evil is winning. Dismemberment? Somebody's cutting people up? How many of you already can tell I'm not from Canada? No, it's true, I was not born in Canada. I was born in a land far away called Iran. And I was adopted by United States Air Force personnel and brought to the States. Smuggled out of Iran. Purchased for 2 cases of scotch on the black market. Damn good scotch, man. Damn good scotch. No, it's a true story. True story. But it's been my Canadian experience over the last 15 years that changed me as a man. I am a better man because of Canada. A better husband I'm a better father. I'm a better man because of what this country has given to me. Now, I don't know what Canada has given to you. I don't know if you came here from somewhere else, like me, or if you were born and raised here. But I would suggest that you thoughtfully consider what I experienced at Crystal Beach. At Crystal Beach, we built that playground for Corporal Albert Storm. His brother and his parents were there. And I remember the tearful day that they spent. I'll never forget that. That family crying over the loss of their son, brother. I remember when it was all over, I was driving back to Oshawa with my friend Jesse John. And I called my wife. And I said, we need to do more. We need to give more. Why, she said. And I said, I just met the Storm family. And I saw their loss. And I said to her, if their family is willing to give their son, then I have an obligation to build a country that would be worthy of his sacrifice. How many say that's true? Now, I'm not for war. But you know, every one of those 168 projects has been named after a fallen Canadian soldier or first responder. Most fallen soldiers. Mark Graham, Corporal Kluge, Angela Dreyer, Anthony Paneca, Captain Goddard, Corporal Kennedy. You might not even know these names. But just like here in Crystal Beach, where I met their parents, I met all of those parents. Either saw them, talked to them, or maybe on the phone or by email or letter. I think I have an obligation, and frankly, I think you should thoughtfully consider your obligation of building a community that would be worthy of that sacrifice. So for me, this isn't a game, it's not a joke. For me, somebody built me a country. Somebody built you a country. And we've got the baton for a little while. And we're going to hand it to someone else. And they're going to either be ahead in the race or behind in the race. And how many of you sometimes when you look around think when we hand it to them, that kid that's 15, that kid that's 9, that kid that's 4, the kid that's 18, how many of you know sometimes it feels like we're going to hand it to them behind? And I'd like to hand it to them ahead. So start getting intentional about this exercise. Let's get ourselves equipped to go out and build a better community. Not just so we can walk around and come to an awards banquet and get an award, but so we can fulfill our moral obligation of living in a free society. Everybody grabs an oar and rows. There are no passengers on this ship called democracy. Everybody rows. Now look, I know we're not going to solve global warming today here in this room. We're not going to solve the Middle East crisis in this room. I get it. But if each one of you can take your little corner of the world, we're not going to solve the whole big bad world, but each one of you take your own little corner of the world, and you make that little corner of the world better, we'll get in alignment and we'll build a better Fort Erie. That's the strategy. Really quickly, I want you to tell me what your little corner of Fort Erie is. So just your name and what you're involved in. Real quick, okay? So we'll start over here. What's your name? Talk, say loud.
Anna.
And what are you involved in? Like what group are you a part of? Society.
Yeah.
And where are you from?
I am from El Salvador.
Come on, El Salvador. Did you watch the soccer game the other day? I'm a big soccer fan, and El Salvador didn't play very well. They lost to Costa Rica, but that's okay. All right. And where are you from? And who are you? And what group are you from? And what is your name?
Josephine.
And where are you from?
Nairobi.
Yes.
Uganda.
Come on, Uganda. We did a project in Uganda. We helped a widow's home in Uganda. One of the things you might not know about Uganda, culturally, when a husband dies, people can just come and take that widow's land. So you have a bunch of men dying of AIDS, people coming and taking their family's land. And so this lady started a widow's home. And we built a playground at the widow's home in Uganda. Because they would bring their kids there, the women, and they'd gain a skill so they could go back and work in their home community. We're glad to have you here in Canada, right? And your name, ma'am?
My name
Awesome. And you won your soccer game the other day. Good job. Go.
And I'm Monica, and I'm from the Fort Erie Multicultural Center.
Go.
Camelia from Fort Erie Multicultural Center. Sandra Dennis Flora,
Awesome. And I drove her car. What's your name? Frank.
Sandra, Fort Erie.
Let me just say something, because there's almost a whole table of 40 multicultural. If Canada doesn't get really good at doing new, Canada will not reach its full potential. There's not enough Canadians to do the work, whether you like it or not.
The United Nations.
Yes, you do. But I would caution all of Canada. The multicultural mosaic concept is a wonderful concept, but there must be some glue that holds the tiles together. Canada cannot be the largest motel in the history of the world, where people check in, but they never actually drop roots. And you cannot define a country by what you are not. Well, we're just not like those guys across the Peace Bridge. You have to start to establish some values and principles that can be instilled in our new friends and our new neighbors. Something that defines you as a people. Defines us as a people. And it's cool, multicultural and mosaic, but how many of you know all of those tiles with no glue, the mosaic is going to get bumped, and all those tiles are going to do what? They're going to fly up in the air. There must be some glue, and that's a part of that intangible infrastructure. And we welcome all of you because you make our country a better place. Go. All right, big brother, big sisters, Barb. Okay. Good. On a side note, after the next break, you're not going to be able to sit at the same table. We're going to make you go to different tables because this is about the dynamic exchange of Fort Erie. How often do these groups get in the same room together? Not often. So we're going to use this as an opportunity. All these ladies are like, holy crap, I have to sit next to other people. Oh my God. Go, sir.
My name is John. I'm involved in 15 different community committees from Ridgeway Lions, All Saints Church, Sally Ann, etc.
Awesome.
David Chairman, River Patriot Vacation Event.
And Ruth, how long have you lived in the area? 20 years. And if you don't mind me asking, generally speaking, how old are you? Come on now. 84 years old and still coming to learn. How awesome is that? Go. Oh, sorry. And? All over? Here. Awesome. And thank you for coming, Teresa. Sir.
Mike, I'm one of those translators running all these
3 weeks. And you're not connected with any group yet. Next break. Whoo! You'll be inundated. Go.
Rose, also 3 weeks.
Very good, and welcome to Fort Erie. Go. Awesome. Thank you, Adam, for being here. Awesome. Okay, Marianne, Ridgeway Legion. And parents. And it's awesome to see Libby here, right? Libby. Everybody give Libby a big round of applause. Awesome. Awesome. Quick. Awesome. Talk loud.
I'm Frank Rasso, and I run the Bronson Reynolds Car Show, and I'm on the Environmental Advisory Committee.
Awesome.
Karen Babcock, Niagara Region Public Health.
Awesome.
Laura Lorge, Community Health Broker with Public Health.
Francis Blair, Meals on Wheels, Fort Erie.
Great.
Wayne
William Bichkowski, Toastmasters.
Come on, library.
Anne McLaughlin, Friends of the Fort Erie Public Library.
Awesome.
John McLaughlin, Friends of the Fort Erie Library.
Wonderful.
Dave McLaughlin, retired.
Are you guys all related? No.
Retired, and I'm a part of the committee that runs the senior citizen events.
Awesome.
Alexandria.
Wonderful.
Chris Colgato, South Niagara Life Center Ministries.
Okay, quickly.
Carol. I am involved with the church, the hospital, and the garden club.
Wonderful.
And watch the next club in the Church Beach Jesuit Bank.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Pam?
Andrea Willett,
Community Living Fort Erie.
Margaret, Community Living Fort Erie.
Community Living.
Larry Graber, emigrated from the Netherlands, involved with the Legion, Fort Erie Public Library, Kinsman Club, and the business, small business center.
You Norwegianers are involved in everything. It's awesome. Go.
Wendy, hospital, and community living.
Very good.
Keith Fort Erie.
Wonderful.
Pauline, Community Living Fort Erie.
Fort Erie, Community Living.
I'm Betty Young, involved in Community Living, Ridgeway Lioness, and Head Injury Association of Fort Erie.
Oh, awesome.
Cameron, Fort Erie Lions.
Jane, Fort Erie Lions. Gabriel, Community Living.
Brian Polsky, Tourism Building, Warburg.
Jesse, volunteer.
Looking for volunteer opportunities. You shouldn't have said that, dude. They're just now. Where are we at? Where are we at? Here? Okay.
Julie, Bridgeport PIA.
Awesome. We need to talk soccer. Go.
Susan Jovanovic, BIA Library Board.
Stephen Passero, a couple different things here.
Here and there.
Elliot Ennis, Salvation Army and Fort Erie Ministerials.
Awesome.
Jacqueline Gibbons, not part of the
Not part of an organization.
Yes.
Make note. Sir?
Paramount, I work with Chamber of Commerce and Community Influence and Habitat for Humanity.
Awesome. And everybody on the camera, Brad?
Brad Murphy, Pacific Productions and Ridgeway Business Improvement Area.
Awesome. Ladies in the back, quickly. Town of Fort Erie. Awesome. Everybody, round of applause. Now, two reasons I did that. I know it was hard to hear, but two reasons I did that. Reason number one, so you have an understanding of the depth and breadth of talent, ability, and background that's in the room. Also, so you can identify those individuals who are here because they want to learn. Isn't it funny that people just came out? I'd like to be a community leader. I'd like to be involved in community. I'd like to be involved in community. So I just came out. The Becoming a Community Builder initiative across Alberta, one of the things that we learned was when you just hung out a shingle that said, who wants to be a community leader? People just showed up. We didn't have to do a lot of marketing. We didn't have to do a lot of stuff. Just who wants to be a community leader? And you work with who shows up. All right, now we're going to take a few minutes to talk about how have things changed. At the top of the next line of your sheet, like this, are the approaches that I'm using what the times require? Are the approaches that I'm using what the times require? And when I say that I'm using, maybe you mean you personally or your organization. Are the approaches that we are using, I'm using, what the times require? Somebody tell me what's a competency. What's a competency? What's a competency? Yes? Certain skills. How about this? Certain attitudes, certain attributes. So a competency is certain attitudes, skills, abilities, talents that make you good at a thing. Sidney Crosby and other great hockey players have certain competencies that make them good at that chosen endeavor. It takes certain competencies to drive a front-end loader. It takes certain competencies to be a jewel cutter. It takes certain competencies for Brad to be an expert in sound editing. Those are vocational competencies, yes? What we're going to talk about from here for the next 30 days, from now to the next 30 days, are leadership competencies. We're going to talk about what are the key leadership competencies to becoming a community builder. What is a community builder? They are the informal leader who knows how to get things done and make things happen in a community. Write this down. They marshal human capital. They marshal human capital. Notice I didn't say that they demand human capital, they don't intimidate human capital, they don't bark at human capital, they marshal human capital because that's what the times require. So for this, are the leadership approaches I'm using, or the things that I'm doing, what the times require, make sense, we have to talk about what the times require. For marshaling human capital to make sense, I've got to make the case that the leadership approaches, community leadership approaches of the past are no longer effective. I have to make that case. You're going to help me make that case. Somebody tell me how things have changed over the last 10 years. 10, 15, 20 years. How are things different today than they were just a decade or two ago? How are things different? Go. Internet, she said. She said internet. Ma'am, may I borrow your little Samsung phone? This device right here, and all that it is, has changed things. But not just because of the speed of the dynamic exchange of information. That would be naive if that's all you think. So let me unpack it a little bit. First, how many of you remember in your professional career that man? He was from that new department called IT. And he had this little cart, and on it was a white box. And he rolled into your office, and he put it on your desk. How many of you remember that day? And you were like, what is the white box? And he looked at you and said, it will mean that you don't have to work but 25 hours a week. And you were like, really? He's like, yes, it's going to make everything so much better. How many remember that? How many say, find that guy and hang him? Because what this has done has made us work more than ever before, yes or no? Yes. What this has done, and I'll use the example of a friend who I have that's in the States that's actually a city manager. He emailed me last Christmas, over the Christmas break. He said, I just want you to know I'm retiring, which was strange because he had been in the game for 30 years. He said he was going to do 3 more, and he loved his job. And I said to him, why? And he said, because I got an email from the mayor asking me for an answer on Christmas Day that literally could have waited 2 weeks. I'm done. I don't need this nonsense anymore. Now, I only use that example to say all of us have felt like that at one time or another in our professional or in our volunteer experience, yes or no? That's the surface. Now we've got to take the impact of technology even deeper. Write these words down. User-driven. If you want to be successful in leading in the community today or in your organization, or if your organization needs more volunteers or wants more money, then you have to understand that we are a user-driven society. Side note, when you see me just do like that, that means I don't know how to spell it. Just so you know. Just, you know, I have no idea how to spell society. I-E, I'm not sure, just make a line. There you go. Anyways, we're in a user-driven society. Now, I've got to unpack this for you to get it. Almost every institution that you interface with today gives you a sense that you have a say. You drive the bus. On Friday of this, at the end of this week, 20 years ago, all of us would be scrambling to get somewhere at 4:45. Where would we be scrambling to get? And don't say happy hour. The bank. Because if we didn't get to the bank by 5 o'clock, would we be able to get money over the weekend? No. The bank drove the bus. The bank told you what time to show up. The bank told you exactly what to do. The bank told you how to run your life. How about media? How many of you remember a time where everybody in the family organized their whole life around a certain day at a certain time to watch a certain show? How many remember those days? The thought of a bank telling you what time to show up, you would not bank there anymore. You can get your money in 275,000 locations all across the country 24/7. Am I right or wrong? If a television show told you what time to show up, you wouldn't watch that show. You watch what you want to watch, when you want to watch it, on the platform you want to watch it on. You drive the bus. It is a user-driven society. Counselor, every institution that your citizenry interacts with gives them the feeling they have a say. Now, whether they have a say or not, I don't know. But gives them the feeling they do, except one institution. What is it? Government. That's what the people of Singapore have done an amazing job of. They give the citizenry the feeling they have a say. Nanton, Alberta. Nanton, Alberta. Type in Nanton, Alberta and look at their website. It's a cool website. And one of the cool things that Nanton lets you do as a citizen, lets you dictate how the municipality communicates with you. You want everything by email? By email. You want everything by text? They'll send you a text. Want everything by mail? They'll send you mail. Nanton, N-A-N-T-O-N. N-A-N-T-O-N. You want your stuff by mail? They'll send you by mail. Why? They understand you'll play longer if you get to drive the bus. Why do people play on these things all day and all night? Think about it now. Stop and think. Why do they play on these things all day and all night? And why? Not just the younger generation. I'm 50. And some of you in this room older than me. Some of you in this room a lot older than me. But some of you in this room older than me, and you play on these things. Why? Instant response, and you get to drive the bus. You pick the app. You pick the way. You pick the style. You pick it all. So these multinational corporations understand that we are in a user-driven society. And they understand it so much that you put everything in it. They built such trust with you that you put everything in it. How many say that's nuts? We're nuts. Like everything is in this thing. Now, why is that important to your volunteer organization? Obviously, organizations and entities that give the participant the feeling that they have a say get greater participation. So how are you running your nonprofit or your community-based organization? Making everybody show up to the meeting? Making everybody sit around the table? Making everybody be there every single time? Well, they ain't got time for that. They want to do it when they want to do it, how they want to do it, and the style they want to do it in. Why did we get so many hundreds of volunteers to participate and let them be kids? Because we let you choose the experience. Here's all the things that need to be done that day. Pick the one you want to do. Oh, and by the way, you tell us what time you want to come. Tell us what you want to do. Tell us what time you want to come, and tell us how it might be enjoyable for you. Oh, that's nonsense. Don't they understand? This is about civic responsibility. You can't build a community like that where people just get to choose what they want to do. They have an obligation to help. And that's why nobody comes to your meetings. And that's why your organization is dying. And that's why you're frustrated every day. Am I right or wrong? Now, I'm not talking about changing principles and values. I'm just talking about taking a look at what's going on and understanding what the times require. Some of you from my generation will remember this song. I'm sailing away. You remember that song? Catch an open door for the tragic. Remember that song? Styx, right? Yeah, very Styx. Styx. And I don't know how many of you saw this article down in the States in the Wall Street Journal. Styx, REO Speedwagon, Journey. Anybody remember these bands? Did you know they were all the same guys? No, that's not true. Anyway. But they might as well have been, right? They were all the same guys. Okay, now imagine. I grew up in the States, so imagine me driving down the street on a Saturday night, going to the Cottonwoods, because that's where we used to party on Saturday nights. 1984. My mullet blowing in the wind. And if you want to know if a guy had a mullet when he was a kid, look for the people in the room that are bald or balding. Because if they are bald or balding, they have a mullet. How do you know that? Because God looks down and says this, if you can't take care of it, I'm taking it away. So here I am, driving down the road in my Camaro or whatever it was. I told everybody it was a Firebird, but it was a Camaro. Driving down the road, and I look over at you because that song's on the radio. And I say to you, Saturday night, midnight, I say to you, dude, I love that song, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Dude, I love that song. And you're like, yeah. When can I get that song? No. When could I get that song? In 1984, when could I get that song? It's Saturday night at midnight. I couldn't get that song on Sunday because there was no record store open on Sunday. Hold on, lady. She said you need 8-track. Hold on now. I ain't that old, sister, okay? Speak for yourself. Anyway. So listen now. So now, this is really important. I know it sounds totally way out there, but it'll make sense in a second. I couldn't get that thing Saturday night. I couldn't get that thing Sunday. And I couldn't get that thing on Monday unless I did school, which I did often. But I would have to get it Monday afternoon at 4 or 5 o'clock. And how many songs would I have to buy to get the one song? 12. Listen, user-driven society. Every volunteer you're trying to recruit, every donor you're trying to get money from, every employee you're trying to lead lives in a user-driven society. If we're not responsive, relevant organizations, we won't get people's best. Jump with me now, just a few months ago, down in our place in Nevada. My little daughter, Nadia, she's about, well, at the time she was 9. She's a little sprightly little girl, full of energy and excitement. And she came bounding into my little man cave, home office, man cave. Here she comes. Ba, 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 ba. It's on a Sunday afternoon. Ba, 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 ba. Bing! And she's right in front of me. Hi, Daddy. Hi, Nadia. What are you doing, Daddy? Well, I'm watching the game, so could you move over about 3 feet? You're blocking the game. Just move over right there. So Nadia moves over, and she goes, Daddy, can I tell you something? I said, yes, Nadia, what's going on? She said, Daddy, I love Miley Cyrus. I was like, don't be like Miley Cyrus. Daddy, do you know her song? And it's a couple years ago, maybe you know the song, Ho Down, Low Down, Low Down. It's a popular song before she went off the rails. Like before she went wacko. She sang these kids' songs, right? I was like, I think I've heard of it, but okay, what about it? And she says, Dad, I love that song. I was like, you do? Yes, I do. Why does this matter to me? She said, because I just want you to know I just bought that song. I said, you just bought the song? How did you buy the song? How did she buy the song? iTunes. Now listen, she knew what she wanted and she instantly got it. And I said to her, Nadia, you have your own iTunes account? She said, no, Dad, I used your iTunes account. And she said, I said to her, what's the password? She said, Nadia. I said, how do you know that? And she goes like this, well, what else would it be? Now look, within one generation, I had to wait, and I couldn't get exactly what I wanted. Today I get exactly what I wanted. Some of you that have been in Fort Erie for a while, you know if you wanted to buy a truck, you were buying whatever was on the lot, unless you want to drive all the way up to Toronto. Today, I can go online, I can build the exact truck I want, and how many of you know I'll get it in 2 weeks? Yes or no? User-driven society. So, the question I ask you is your organization understand that volunteers want what they want? I'm going to give you online a survey that I would give to every new volunteer or every new member of your organization. And it basically asks them, what do you want? What do you enjoy? What do you not enjoy? What was your best volunteer experience? What was your worst volunteer experience? What is it you're looking for from us? How many agree with me, over a year or two period of time, you'll figure that out about a volunteer if they stick around long enough. But I would suggest you don't have a year or two to figure it out. Ask them day one, what do you want from us? Well, shouldn't we tell them the policies? Shouldn't we tell them the procedures? No, it's a user-driven society. Next word I want you to write down, Prosumer. We're in a prosumer society. Prosumer. Now what does that mean? Producer, consumer. For the first time in the history of mankind, everybody in the room is a producer and a consumer. In the past, information was held by a few key people, and then it was disseminated out based on their desire to marshal the human capital, or to scare the human capital, whatever it was. But today, for the first time in the history of mankind, people are more sophisticated than ever before because they have so much information available to them. Now, does sophisticated mean more intelligent? No. Does sophisticated mean more caring or kind? No. Sophisticated just means they have more information. So when they come to you, they are a prosumer. So if you're running your voluntary-based organization, community-based organization, or whatever organization like this, come help us, come help us, come help us, come help us. Now let me tell you what you're going to do. How many of you don't come back to that volunteer opportunity? You don't. And then when you get there, when it's a wreck, it's not organized, it's not a fulfilling and meaningful experience, you don't come back. Meaningful and fulfilling. People are apathetic today. No, they're not. Absolutely not apathetic. That's a lie. You just haven't figured out how to engage them. You just don't know how to make it appealing, appetizing. You don't understand that we're in a user-driven society full of prosumers. Counselors, CAOs, who understand the changed nature of our society are engaging citizens every day. There's a big difference, city staff, between community consultation and community engagement. Community consultation is, oh, we have to go sit down with this community group and check it off our list. Community engagement is get them involved from the beginning. I was just in Austin, Texas the other day. The Public Works Department, listen to this, the Public Works Department is offering small grants for neighborhoods that want to improve their neighborhood in some way. And the community, the city's only job is to facilitate and guide. Do you know that in Calgary and Edmonton, you can only do community-built playgrounds? The city doesn't build playgrounds anymore. Just the community. They provide a little bit of money, they provide a little bit of guidance, but it's up to the community to do it. Why? Why is it up to the community to do it? What's that? There's value to it, but why else? What else does it do? Pride, or it builds the intangible infrastructure. So, for you, as a leader, your leadership skills, are you leading the way the times require? Quickly, what else has changed? We took a long time on that, but quickly, what else has changed? Yes?
We're a transient society.
That's right. Used to be, I didn't move. My grandparents, their parents, my uncle, my aunt, we all lived here. But now we move because we have the ability and capacity to move. So we move where we want to go, in most instances. Somebody else, yes?
Come from a society that makes the comment that people are almost scared to interact. I'm used to all the people.
Very good. How many of you say there's a lack of trust in our communities and society? There's a lack of trust. In other words, used to be, we all knew each other. I'll go back to this diagram. Why was there a greater likelihood of alignment in the past? And there's less of a likelihood of alignment today? What were some of the contributing factors to alignment occurring in the past and less alignment today? So we would sit down on our porches and talk to people as they walk by. Today, people pull into their garage, close it, and never talk to their neighbor, yes or no? Even in a rural community. How many citizens in Fort Erie, sir? 30,000. You're not a big town, right? I would say you're this. You're urban, but a little you. Right? You're urban with a little you. You're big enough to get something done, but you're small enough to still make something happen. Right? Like Oshawa, we're starting to get, are we going to get anything done in Oshawa, the Durham region? I don't know. I love it. I love my counselor, Dan Carter, wonderful people, but it's getting so big, I don't know. How many of those things get so big sometimes, the inertia is difficult to overcome. But at 30,000, you got enough resources to be taken seriously, but you're small enough to still get things done. How many of you concur? So it used to be, I just talk to people, have a cup of coffee, have a chat, right? What else? Yes? Not only similar interests, but similar languages, similar religion. We all ate the same way, slept the same way, talked the same way, hung out the same way, worshiped the same way, and so it was easier to do alignment. Now diversity is great, but one of the challenges with diversity is what? We don't eat the same way, we don't talk the same way, we don't worship the same way. Now is that bad or good, right or wrong? I don't know, but it's challenging when it comes to alignment. What else? Why else? Well, how about this one? Common interest. See, the common interest used to be survival. We would die. I was on a flight going up to the Northwest Territories, and I was sitting next to a guy. It was one of those planes that you have to walk like this, and then the person gets up front and tells you all the directions, now buckle your seatbelt and do all that, and then turns around and sits in the pilot seat. You ever been on that plane? Yeah, I've been on that plane. I fly those Bush planes all the time. The guy just turns around and sits down, you're like, oh, this is gonna be great. So I'm sitting next to this guy, and he's huge, and he's all cramped up in this little plane. And I said, hey man, what's going on? He goes, I'm going home. I was just down in Edmonton doing a little shopping, and now I'm going back up to Northwest Territories. I said, oh, where do you live? I live in a flying community. Oh, I said, that must be really hard. Yeah, well, you know, it's life. I said, what do? I teach Native Studies. Oh, you teach Native Studies? Yes. What specifically do you teach? I teach the kids of the community how to live off the land. I was like, oh, you teach them how to hunt and like kill a rabbit or something? And he's like, no, I teach them how to live off the land. We still live off the land. I was like, you mean like there's no grocery store? Like, he's like, no, we kill our food and then that's what we do. We live off the land. I was like, there's no Max? I mean, I can't just drive, can't get Smarties or I go, that must be really, really hard. Like, people must really get on each other's nerves. He's like, no. I said, why is that? He said, well, we get food every 6 months. The trucks come. Because the ice road, that's where we get stuff. He says, and so, you don't piss anybody off. Because, you know, you might need something from them. So one of the things that I think has happened is, our edges were less pointy when I knew I needed you. All of a sudden I get really sophisticated. I get really self-sufficient, I think. All of a sudden I don't need you. So I go in my own way. Now, we could go on literally for a whole day of how things have changed. But if you don't understand how things have changed, or the context, if you don't understand the context that you're operating in, you won't be successful. The content of community leadership may not have changed for 2,000 years, but the context that all of you operated has changed. I'd ask you to thoughtfully consider taking a few minutes over the next couple days and thinking about how things are different. Whether it's the multicultural nature of our communities or the growing multicultural nature of our communities. Whether it's people moving in from out of town, whether it's funding, whether it's the user-driven, prosumer nature of our society, how have things changed? And is our organization's approaches or my individual approaches what the times require? Because if it's not, then you're not in alignment with what's going on today. If it is, then your organization or you as an individual leader will thrive. If you're a woman in the room, now's your time. The autocratic leadership approach displayed by most men is not effective today. People who have the ability to lead and follow literally in the same sentence, in the same meeting, 1 minute leading, 1 minute following, 1 minute leading, 1 minute following, they're going to be successful today. People who are collaborators, people who are catalysts, people who are conveners. The days of one individual riding in on the white horse and saying, follow me, those days are gone. The community builder understands that those days are gone. The community builder understands that it's about pulling the best out of people, human capital. So these people all bring to the party different experiences, different talents, different insight, different wisdom. My ability to marshal them towards a common goal is a successful leader today. Now, what does that practically look like? Well, in the past, I'm the chairperson, so I run the show. Today, I'm the chairperson. I facilitate the dialogue. I'm the chairperson. I get the best of her, him, her, and her. I get the best of them and move it and align it together. Autocratic leadership won't work. So there's 3 competencies to doing that. Write them down. 1, agent of change. Agent of change. What time is it, man? Deb, what time is it? Okay, perfect. Agent of change. This means you know how to implement change. You know how to change yourself. Not your principles and values, but your style. Because today's leadership approaches, how many of you and me, we can almost make a safe bet that 10 years from now, they will not be the leadership approaches that will be effective. Probably not. I didn't say change your values. I'm just talking about style. So 1, do you know how to change yourself? 2, do you know how to create change within your organization? Do you know the sequential steps to implementing successful change? 3, do you know how to lead a community transformation or a community change? Now, over the next month, I'm going to give you the ways to do all 3. I'll give you ways to change yourself. I'll give you ways to change the performance of others within your organization. And I'll give you ways to change community. How to initiate change in the community. Second competency, systems thinking. Big picture, holistic systems thinking. And when we come back from the break in a moment, I'll make the case that today is the systems thinkers' day. What do you mean? I don't mean computers. The ability to take a bunch of different parts, put them together to reach a specific outcome. That's a system. And systems are force multipliers. In other words, they allow you to do more with less. And systems are tangible, like the thermostat that is hooked to the HVAC system, tangible, and systems are intangible. I don't know. I'm just so excited to have this baby. My mom had me when she was 15. Her mom had her when she was 15. And here I am 15 having a baby. Systems. Systems. Tangible and intangible. And then finally, the last competency, catalyst for responsibility. Do you have the skill and ability to get other people to do something more than they were doing the day before? Can you get them to take greater ownership and responsibility? And like it. That's a key. Can you get them to do more than they were doing the day before and like it? Are you a catalyst for responsibility? And in that competency, we'll talk about getting buy-in. We'll talk about pride as a performance strategy and a couple of other things. So over the next 4 weeks, the first week we'll talk about being an agent of change. The next 2 weeks, we'll talk about being a systems thinker. And I'll give you systems for fund development and how to raise a bunch of money. I'll give you systems for recruiting and retaining volunteers. I'll give you systems for time management, system on delegation, a system on motivation. I'll give you all these systems. Over the next month, you'll have about 18 hours of additional training beyond today. Because that's the only way to do it justice. You can't sit in a room for 3 hours and think you're going to learn how to be a community builder. That's naive and silly. How many of you agree? My only job today is perk interest, create thought, and get you to hang out with us for a month. Okay, those 3 competencies, when we come back from the break, we'll unpack those 3 competencies. And we'll give you some tangible tools. Because all this theory and conceptual talk is not satisfying to some of you in the room. Some of you love it, but others of you need a tool. You really want to walk out of here with a tool. So we'll get you some tools in the next hour, together. All right, we're going to take only a 5-minute